Jerome, put on that Bobby Womack.
Nah, girl, I want to go way back. Oh, yeah, check this out.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm
You're listening live on the coolest of the cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent, you're kicking it here live on this August 27th, 2021.
If she had a sis, maybe could mac a baby hood rat. Y'all remember way back then when it was 1985.
We're going to be brought to you by Spreaker.com. If you haven't done it already, if you're listening on it, go and check us out.
Saying, yo, mama black, his mama this, his mama that. Then he get mad and want to scrap. We stay mad about 10 minutes, then it's like back on the bike.
Got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about tonight. A whole bunch of stuff. Chaos in Afghanistan. FBI raids Detroit council members. Pentagon issues a mandate. And the most viral kind of challenge going on right now all over social media. Get into that if you haven't already known, but that one you should know. Remember, you're listening here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Make sure you can follow us on our social media platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Koolykool2412. You can also follow us on TikTok at Koolykool Show. Also follow me on the YouTube channel, the Koolykool Show. All right. Thank you for listening in on the coolest of the cool, the Koolykool Show. I'm your host, Brent, and we're going to talk about lots of stuff tonight. Get your mind spinning just a bit. All right. So, if no one's had said it to you, I hope you're doing well. If you're listening out there, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. You can also follow us on our other social media listening podcasts. We're also on iHeartRadio, along with some other. I just can't remember offhand. Well, that's what happens when it's late at night and I'm feeling all right. So, first topic of discussion we're going to talk about is the chaos in Afghanistan right now. If you had listened to our previous podcast, we had talked about beforehand about trouble in Afghanistan. That apparently the Taliban has seized and taken over power and control of Afghanistan. It's been a hot topic of this week, and along as with last week, the Taliban just kind of took over after the United States military had seized all military operations, and we were packing up and leaving, and the Taliban just came on in there, drove right in there, and took what they liked, and now they're ruling the country. But they have some leniency, some leeway as U.S. troops, service members and the last Americans there are trying to get out of the country. In the latest issues, things that have gone on in the news, if you haven't followed already, there was a bombing, there was an attack at the Kabul airport, I believe, where 12 service members of the armed forces were killed, along with I think some other deaths of the Afghanistan people, and I believe there's 100+ who were also injured as a result. 11 Marines, 1 Navy corpsman, and a ton of other individuals that were hurt and or killed during the bombing. They say that apparently it was a suicide bomber. It's getting down to the nitty gritty on this. It's kind of a touchy subject with me, for the simple fact that as a veteran, you hear things like this, and if it doesn't strike a chord with you, I don't know. I mean, you're not human at this point, but I mean, it does strike a chord with me because of the situation. And the thing is, you have a terrorist organization such as the Taliban, and they have seized control of major areas in Afghanistan, and you kind of had to see that this was going to come along also. This is kind of one of the little blows that maybe they'd be like, you know what, there's tons of people flocking to the Kabul airport to try to get on these military crafts and get out in order for these people to try to get away from this terrorist organization regime that's trying to seize entire control. That you knew that there's going to be some point in time where shortcomings, short ups, that they weren't going to try to devise some type of plan to try to say, you know what, you guys want to leave, guess what, we're going to try to hit you hard and try to hit you somewhere where it hurts. And unfortunately there was casualties as a result of this attack. And that's what I'm calling this. I'm calling this attack. This is not just going to be like, oh yeah, we're just, no, this is a well-planned, orchestrated attack. I mean, into a crowd of people, and then you have the service members, United States Marines and the corpsmen there, and they're doing their job. And for that to happen is completely just I don't really have words much to say, because I'm just devastated, and especially considering the fact of everything that's happened as far as Afghanistan, and having been there for 20 years, and the way the country has been taken over at that point by a terrorist organization, which we went there because we got attacked at 9/11, and from 9/11 we went after the terrorist organization, the terrorist regime that was housed in Afghanistan, where the Afghanistan government, the people there, didn't want that terrorist organization there. So thus, we end up going to Afghanistan to get rid of that organization, that terrorist organization. And 20 years, and then in a blink, within a matter of days, that organization takes over the country. Literally takes over and captures the country. The Afghanistan president booked and left. He dipped out. A lot has to play as the factor is, what could you have done, or what could have the U.S. government done? I believe the U.S. government, we did our part. We did what we were supposed to. We did our mission. We did what we needed to do. Our main goal was to take out that terrorist organization, to eliminate. I'm going to say, I don't like the words eliminate. I'm going to say to freaking dismantle their whole organization. And we went after and we found the man responsible for the terrorist attack that happened on 9/11. And we were able to get him. It took a couple of years, but we were able, with hard work, dedication, and the pursuit to bring justice. We got the individual, Osama bin Laden. We got him. And you kind of almost want to say, did we create a martyr out of this whole thing? Did we? I don't think we did. I think we did what we accomplished, and at the same time as we accomplished, we were there and also to help these people, to help them fight the bully, to not be pushed around, that they do, as humans, have certain rights that they can do and not be ridiculed. It's a lot different when you kind of put it like this. Like, for instance, in the past couple of years, we've had issues as far as the North Korea issue. North Korea and their regime, the Kim regime, we've had issues dealing with them. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to say, hey, to go into their country and say, hey, we don't like how you're doing things. Let your people have rights. And considering the fact that they're more modernized, they have modern technology. And it's kind of like, if we were to go into North Korea, what were the bases for? They're not really setting up any type of terrorism, and trying to do bad things. Even though I'm just going to say basically there could be underlying things that I don't know, that I don't have, authorization to know. But not to say certain things like that don't happen, but at the same time, they're not put on the front to say, hey, yeah, we got terrorist organization here, and who cares? And we're like, look, you guys are terrorist cells. pretty much housed here, and you're just allowing this stuff to happen. It's not like that. It's a different kind of way that's going about it. Whereas North Korea is doing their own thing. It's like they're modernized with the times and going, and it's not really hearing much resentment from the people, because you have people who are saying, oh, it's great, and then you have some people say, oh, I can't stand it, but then they're the ones defecting from North Korea, going to China, and then back in getting the asylum in South Korea. So it's kind of hard, because you're hearing only certain things from certain people, but yet some people are still saying, hey, it's fine, we're proud, we love it here. So it's kind of hard to kind of sway which way it's going. But I would say the most that they have is, and the majority of the things that they have, is that they're more modernized and up to date with a lot of technology. As far as Afghanistan, where it's some parts you would want to say in the centralized government part, there are modernized with a lot of the certain technologies, but vast, and we're talking the vast amount of Afghanistan is still not caught up to date with the rest of other countries and certain technologies. I'm going to break this down for you. When I was in Afghanistan, from 2004 to 2005. And there, it's a third world country. When you actually encounter a third world country, and if you've been to Afghanistan and you've seen how Afghanistan is, and the certain sights, smells, the thing will kind of bring you back to when you were there, and it's just different. I mean, like I said, I think it has to do with a lot of modernized and how things. Now, I say the centralized part of Afghanistan, centralized government part of Afghanistan, is modernized to some type of extent. But the rest of the country is vastly still not caught up in date times. There are still parts of the country where people they're farming and they're living in their villages, and they're still having to plow their fields with oxes. Now, for here in America, using an ox to try to plow your fields, it kind of seems dated back in time. It's like, who's really doing that now these days? But this is what some of these individuals in their country in Afghanistan are still doing. This is, like I said, some parts of the country are not caught up to date as far as the modern stuff is going on. So you have a sense where we're there to try to help them, because the fact that you have a terrorist organization that's kind of taking advantage of the people, and the people there are not given a lot of support in order to thwart off these aggressors who want to do damage to their country, along with other neighboring and housing countries that surround. So it creates a huge big issue. So as though we knew we weren't going to be in Afghanistan forever, we were going to give them a lot of resources and tools and help them rid that organization out, so that way they could be able to stand up on their own 2 feet and be able to do what is necessary in order for themselves to thwart off any unwanted, organization coming in the country. But then now, I said within the past week, it's kind of like everything that we were teaching and telling them and giving them training to be able to thwart off, the Taliban, and to sustain a sustainable government, seems as though it went for naught. And this is where a lot of servicemen and women kind of could be like, having gone and deployed to Afghanistan, having been there, it's kind of almost like, you kind of question and be like, what? And you have to kind of question, you have to kind of answer. I don't think you can answer, but you kind of question, you have to question it, because it's a very big issue, and a lot of servicemen and women are, quite frankly, they feel a certain way, especially if those who have had individuals who had paid the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of their country to help out another country, doing what they believe was right in order to preserve our way of life, and into doing so, they gave their life in the defense for their country, the ultimate sacrifice. It can definitely leave you wondering, because we went and fought for something. You went to fight for something. And then to see how this is played out now, it's completely devastating when you think about it. You know, and so you just kind of wonder what's going to happen. What's the future for Afghanistan? Now I got to say it for America. It's just, what's the future for Afghanistan? And I saw a video, and this video was on TikTok, and it's a young girl. She's crying. She's at the Koolykool airport, and obviously there's girders up and, you know, barricades up, and you see the Afghan people yelling, crying, and shouting to try to, you know, for the U.S. To let them in, so that to get on their planes to get out of their country. And this young Afghan girl is pleading and crying to the Marines that help, that she's not safe, and that they will cut her hands and kill her. And it is, you know, devastating to see something like that. And she's pleading out to, you know, get help, to wanting to get out of that uncomfort zone in their country. And the thing is, you don't know, you know, I put it as is, you don't know what her outcome, what her future is going to be. And I think that's one thing people can say, you know, the future, you can't predict anything. But what you can do is you can look back, you can look, and for vast majority of for Americans, you know, you kind of say, you know, I'm going to try to do this way. This is what the future may hold or may not hold for me. But as for this Afghanistan girl, you know the situation, you know what's going on, you know what has happened, and it's almost kind of like, you know, for her, she's pleading because she wants to have a better life. And the fact that a certain organization has taken over, she is uncertain on where her life is going to be headed. She is, before a couple months, her life was probably like, I have opportunities, I have chances to do things. And for her as a woman, she has her own thoughts that can actually contribute to bettering her country. But now it's now marginalized. It's now dwindling. And it's kind of, you feel for what is going to happen to some of those peoples. What is going to happen to some of those Afghanistan people? And when they thought several months ago that they could think freely, and now they can't think freely. Like I said, it's been 20 years that the U.S. government has been there. U.S. military has been there. And some of those people were born within that period of time. So they've seen certain changes where it's looking better for them. Now it's going to go in entirely the opposite direction, to where it's now an uncertain feeling, uncertain way for them. And they should be scared. They should be frightened, because it's an unsettling feeling. And it's you know, it's very devastating, because when I went over there to do a job, to do a mission, and to help those that need helping. But then at the same time, you kind of say, is it Afghanistan's government that has failed them? Did the Afghanistan government fail to help its own people, knowing that at a point in time the U.S. government was going to eventually have to leave? So that's another question. You know, did the Afghanistan government fail its own people from not taking the resources, the tools, the training, the equipment that the U.S. government and other allies had gave and helped them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, to be able to take care of their own business, from having some type of other terrorist organization being able to now take over their country, and now that their future, their government, their country is now uncertain of their own future, of where their direction of their country is going to go. That's completely, it's crazy. It's just crazy to think. On a couple months ago, things were probably looking very promising for their country. I mean, they were holding elections. women were having certain rights and they were being able to do certain things, and now it's uncertain. Don't know. It's unsettling. Very unsettling. So, right now, that was our first topic. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go get something to drink. That's what my favorite term is. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to go get something to drink. I'll be right back. We're going to talk about next thing where the FBI raids Detroit council members. Yep. We got more to talk about this when we come back. So stick with us. Like I said, I'm going to be back for about a minute or so. Going to go get something to drink. We'll be right back. Stick with us here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Back here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show, your host, Brent. Make sure you like and follow us on our social media platforms. I'll let you know which ones. We're going to get to our second topic. Alright, so in other news today, if you haven't heard it already, it's actually, I don't know how much this is as accurate as it is, but the FBI raids Detroit City Hall council members, their offices and homes. That's what I got so far. Political corruption at its finest. So let's go and we're going to try to break this down as far as what we have so much on as far as this latest political corruption and raid that the FBI has done on the council members. Like, corruption doesn't exist at its highest level. Just saying. So, FBI searches homes of Detroit City Council members. Investigation allegations of public corruption. Evidence will be brought to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which will ultimately decide whether or not to prosecute those individuals involved. It's a wide range from towing operations, accusations that the city officials are receiving bribes. Like that's let's see if that's like not one that would never happen at a kind of council members. Just saying. So, apparently, the raids took place roughly 3 weeks after City Council Andre Spire was arraigned in federal court on counts of conspiring to commit bribery. accepting more than $35,000 in bribery payments from 2016 to 2020. So let's just say, I'm going to put this easy. Let's just say the reason why, let's say, the FBI end up getting into this investigation and then ultimately doing raids on the Detroit city council members is because, let's say, an individual who was impaired in federal court on conspiracy to commit bribery was told, yeah, you're going to go to jail and you're going to do some time unless you name dropping, or AKA snitching, or the old terms from the back in the 70s and 60s, start ratting people out. That's what happened. How else do you think these investigations start? I mean, it's not too far off the tree to where situations like this doesn't transpire without somebody up in this, echelon top chain, top, executive don't start talking, because they're like the Nino Brown effect from New Jack City. Look, if I'm going down, I'm taking a whole bunch of people with me. And that's the whole thing of matter. If they're planning on going down, planning on going out, I guess they say they're going to take everybody with them too, and they ain't going to go quietly either. They ain't going to Fred, Jed, everybody going down. He was doing this. Matter of fact, that was the newspaper boy across the street. Yep. He was doing some dirt too. This is what typically happens. I mean, there was not that much coverage in reference to this, but I just happened to come across it because especially when I looked at it as far as the bribery, I'm going to say that bribery tends to probably happen in a lot of major metropolitan city areas. It's just the fact of everybody who's, hey, I got you, you got me, you're not going to say nothing, I'm not going to say nothing either. But then when something happens, if somebody doesn't get payment, or somebody says, hey, you're supposed to help me out here, but like, yeah, but I got things, then it turns into like, oh, you didn't pay me, or then turns into, yeah, you're supposed to help me, you didn't help me, you let me hang and dry out like that. And there's like, I'm going to get even with you, because a lot of these stuff happens typically when somebody individual contacts the Federal Bureau of Investigation to say, hey, I got a little issue here with this area over here, and they're involved in a lot of corruption. And guess what? Federal Bureau of Investigation will continue to do their investigation, and they're going to do an investigation where apparently, from when I first read the article on this, it said that apparently it was a dozen of the city council members in Detroit, along with, here's another one, high-ranking officials in the police area too, where it was involved in this, which, like I said, situations like this heads tend to roll, things start to roll downhill, and it's not looking good for a lot of the vast majority. Now, though, I would say is this allegations of public corruption evidence will be brought to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Now, whatever they're finding, which is probably going to be as far as records of payments, which is what I think they're probably going to go with, is the bribery for a lot of these council members to try any documentations of them receiving payment or allocated resources were funded for something else and not supposed to be sourced out to where it was supposed to be for individuals or certain organizations for the city of Detroit. That is pretty much, I say, premier what typically tends to happen. And like I said, typically usually takes an individual who's pissed off, angry, and decides to want to get some get back. And as they're trying to get some get back, they end up just going to taking everybody down. And guess what? The FBI is going to take and they're going to find out who's involved and what's used and what. Now, as far as those individuals in the city council members, is the U.S. Attorney's Office going to have enough evidence to prosecute these individuals? They can do enough to get search warrants to actually find evidence as far as their further investigation, but it's going to be ultimately up to the U.S. Attorney's Office whether or not they're going to decide to prosecute these individuals. And a lot of times, sometimes with this, individuals might be prosecuted and might only serve a certain amount of time, or they might end up pleading out to give up other information on other individuals, which next to you have a ripple effect, which now it will go on to other areas which certain new and other investigations will end up ultimately opening up as a result of this one. So that's a little bit to touch on it. I mean, it's a lot when you think about it, but technically it's not a lot. But if you didn't know about that, I'm just letting you know that's what came out, and that came out early this week. Yeah, that's what I came out early this week. So, it's not much new. I mean, now I have a question. If you have a question or comment concern, you can always, like I said, follow me on YouTube. My episodes are automatically uploaded onto my YouTube channel, The Koolykool Show. If you have a question or a comment, you can definitely reach me there and just leave a comment or, concern and just say, hey, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I want to know if those who are listening out there, do you think that actually, let's put it this way. Do you think large metropolitan cities, do they house corrupt officials up in their, up in their council members in a council? Do you think there is? And if so, I would like a legitimate, kind of answer to it, to the question as far as why and how you think there is. Now, like I said, obviously, I just told you about the Detroit one. Clearly, there is a corruption issue going on with this. But do you think it's more frequently that happens up there in the high echelon of people that are secretly running, areas of leadership position, or do you think it's sometimes more corruption down at the lower end? That's another good question. You can, if you can answer that to me, and I'll try to get back to you. And I would like the feedback in reference to it. So, that's the question. So now on to our third topic of discussion. Now, the Pentagon now has stated, Pentagon requires military members, get their COVID-19 vaccination shot immediately. I know many people are up in the air as far as getting the COVID-19 vax, but the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered service members to immediately begin receiving the COVID-19 vaccination. I just want to know how many people feel about this situation. I mean, if you listen to my early podcast, I talked about the COVID-19 and the vaccination shot, and I've talked about why you should get it. I got my COVID-19 vax shot. I know people's like, I can't believe I got it. Oh my gosh. You're going to grow hair out your booty. One thing is, there's a lot of science that goes into the whole thing. Like I had talked about briefly, I said at the beginning when people were getting the COVID-19 shot, it was pretty much the elderly and essential personnel. And I'm not going to touch a whole bunch on it, but I'm just going to touch on basically what I had talked about, and it's kind of piggyback off it. He said, do you really think, like I said at the time, it was elderly and essential personnel that are being offered to get the COVID-19 vaccination shot? Now, reason why for the elderly is because the elderly individuals are more prone to kind of get sick and have a lot of more complication issues as far as their immune system. As you get older, your immune system is not as strong as it was before when you were younger. And for essential personnel to keep things going, these are your first responders, your doctors, your medics, your police, your fire, your public works officials. People are getting things going, keeping the stuff moving. They're keeping the gears running. And I said, do you think, and people have always the conspiracy theories, they're trying to euthanize us all with the COVID. But I'm saying, why would they try to euthanize your essential personnel? I don't get that. I never got that. And clearly, it's not going to stop you from getting COVID-19. Never did they say it was going to stop you from getting COVID-19. Never did they say that. Basically, what they implies is, look, get the COVID-19 shot. Reason why? Because it gets you a layer of protection. Just like the flu shot. People get the flu shot every year. But then you have some people that never get the flu shot, and then when they do get the flu, and then they end up at the hospital, and then they want to start talking mess, like, I can't believe I can't say, and then they're almost having pneumonia, and they're almost having get fluid and injected with stuff to help them. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But then you have tons of other people that end up going ahead and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to get it. It's too early. That's not even FDA approved. The FDA takes a long time to approve anything if you do your own research on it. And then on top of that, people talk about, I'm not getting it. They're making it mandatory. But at the same time, as you're a child or a baby, you were already vaccinated with certain vaccines. So what are you talking about? And if you're going to school, if you're going to a public school or a private school, or if you're going to college, you had to produce some type of shot record of vaccine to show what you got. And the reason why, because they want to make sure that you're not bringing any undue illnesses or diseases upon anyone else because of the fact that you didn't get certain things. And it might affect you because they don't want to be held liable for the fact that something happens to you, you're susceptible, and while everybody's pretty much been vaccinated with certain things that you haven't been vaccinated, the next year you're kind of complaining, I got this when I was at college or school or whatever, this and that. And they're like, well, legal purposes, you need to have this. So I said I'm not going to touch on that, but as I had previously had said one thing, I said it's a very serious thing. A lot of service people might be up in the air in reference to it, but I said, guess what? The same thing. As a service member of the armed forces, you are government property. Whether you like to believe it or not, you'd be like, oh, no, you are government property. And the penalty for disobeying certain orders and rules and regulations governing articles of the Uniform Code of Military Justice are a lot stricter and harsher than there is out in the civilian world. So if you're trying to go about it a different way, be very cautious about it because it could have repercussions on your military career. Just saying like that because I love my military service men and women. It's just one of those things that you kind of have to gauge, kind of have to play by ear, kind of have to see where it goes. But at the same time, don't do something that jeopardizes your military career. So, I'm going to take, well, actually, I think we got one more, I think I can actually take one more commercial break, which is actually me showing you guys to listen to some music. But I think, I think we can ponder, I think one more, little brief break, yeah, we can, yep, just great, beautiful. But yeah, going to take one more brief break. Stick with us. It'll be the last topic of discussion for tonight, and it's dealing with some milk crates, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go get something to drink because right now I don't feel like getting cotton mouth and then almost choking on my own spit. So I'm going to go get something to drink. Stick with us here live on the Koolykool show. Your host, Brent. Be right back in we'll be back in 1 second. All right, be right back.
I've crossed deserts for miles, swam water for time, searching places to find a piece of something to call mine. A piece of something to call mine. Coming closer to you. Ran along many moors, walked through many doors. The place where I wanna be is the place I can call mine. Is the place I can call mine. Coming closer. I'm moving, I'm coming, can you hear what I hear? It's calling you, my dear, out of reach. To me, I can hear it calling you. I'm coming, not drowning, swimming closer to you.
All right, live back here on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Make sure that if you're not following us already, you can follow us on our social media platform. I'm also on TikTok at the Koolykool Show. Also, you can follow me on YouTube at the Koolykool Show. I have my videos here. My episodes are automatically uploaded to my YouTube channel. I use some gaming up there. Also, you can also follow me on Twitter, where sometimes I do. Well, actually, what I do on Twitter is actually post letting people know that I'm coming on live on the Coolest the Cool, the Koolykool Show. You can follow me there at Koolykool2412 at Twitter. Yeah, also videos are also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and many others. So, last topic of discussion for tonight is going to be simple. It has taken the internet and many places, a lot of the hood and ghetto areas, by storm, and that has been the ghetto. Well, actually, if you're looking at the term ghetto, ghetto does not mean a certain race or ethnicity. Ghetto can be anywhere, okay? You have your country ghettos, you have your city ghettos, you have suburban ghettos, heavy and other ghettos. But this has taken and gone viral, everybody by storm, is your ghetto crate box challenges. Yes. Hospitals have been seeing an increase in hospitalization as a result of the ghetto crate box fails. It's a challenge, but many people have been failing at it, and they've been hitting it hard. A lot of people have been hitting it hard. If you were one of the individuals that actually been to one of these events of the crate box challenges and or have failed and busted your ass, because that's all I see on a lot of these videos. A lot of people busting their ass and they going down hard. Chime in. Let me know. Tell me what happened. Why'd you do it? Was it fun? How's the arm? How's the back? How's the concussion? So, I definitely would like to know, as far as, not to say that I want to try it. I've seen people they've been landing, I don't know, some of these people have been breaking arms, and chiropractors probably ringing up the bucks. Chiropractors probably saying, "Oh, let it happen again, baby." So, yeah. But it's actually been taking the internet and all social media by storm. And people you have celebrities that are actually chiming in on this, and they're laughing their ass off because they're like, man, these people are really busting their ass. And, I mean, some have succeeded, but vast majority have been going down hurting. When I'm talking about hurting, I'm talking about straight up hurting. So, that's one thing I want to talk about. Like I said, if you have and done it, let me know. Send a message to me. I want to hear whether you succeeded. Don't lie and say you did, and then you got a sling on your arm. So, but as always, for those of you listening to my podcast here on Spreaker.com, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening. Be sure to check us out on my social media platforms. You can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on TikTok. Both of them are the Koolykool Show. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Koolykool2412. Make sure that you like and subscribe. If you have any answers to my questions that I had earlier, definitely send me a message. Let me know what's going on. Also, you're going to hear live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Thank you, and God bless.
Hustler, word, I pull the trigger long. Grip my teeth, spray to every nigga's gone. Got my block sewn on my dope spots. Last thing I sweat, so suck a punk cop. Move like a king when I roll hop. You try to flex, bang, another nigga drop. You gotta deal with this, cause in the way out. Why? Cash money ain't never gonna play out. I got nothing to lose, much to gain. In my brain, I got a capitalist migraine. I gotta get paid tonight. You motherfucking right, taking my grip. Check my bitch, keep my game.